The modern US is the most powerful country in the world. It has become the leader of a vast interconnection global system. To understand America's position in the world, you have to go back to the country's founding. Back to America wasn't a global power, back to America when it wasn't even known at any sense of the word. And the USA expanded in both territory and influence, but something was happening in the late 1800s. The industrial revolution preceded an explosive economic growth. So many companies in the USA are faced today with a strong competition, and to survive in such a market environment, it's necessary for them to rule with a structured management and know what the customer needs to align all the business activities to these customer needs.
Successful cross-cultural management when working in the US, it is safest to treat all people with an equal amount of respect and preference, focus schedules, and maximizing time, and expect that people will want to be dealt with as individuals. In the US, there is a sense that all people in the organization have an important role to play and are all valued for their input. Therefore, managers consult employees to gather background information and often have them share in the decision-making process. The American working environment has changed drastically, with one eye on the costs and the other on retention. Employers are increasingly offering part-time or shared jobs or outsourcing to external contractors. Change is constant as companies are restructured, work teams become virtual, and flexible work arrangements become more common.
Cross-cultural communication will be more effective when working in United States, when you remember that the most productive managers in the United States recognize and value the specialized knowledge that employees at all levels bring. Employees expect to be consulted on decisions that affect them and the greater good of the organization.
Cross-cultural management is more likely to succeed if you understand that businesses in the US have a high tolerance for risk and a ready acceptance for change. The underlying mindset is that change, while difficult, usually bring improvement and enhancement with it. There is three important cultural factors that might impact your change project and some recommendation on adjusting your approach. For example, first, we have sharing authority. Cultures share power differently. Some place all authority and decision making at the top of the organization, while others distribute the power more evenly. Second, we can have the aversion to risk. We are all risk averse. After all, we like uncertainty. They really think that the trade-off between risk and reward that matters. Some cultures are more entrepreneurial by nature and are more willing to take risks if they believe that benefits will follow. The same spirit permeates the workplace. Employees are more willing to change if they buy into the benefits. Messaging benefits is always important, but more so within risk tolerance cultures. Third, we have the collective mindset. Cultures with a collective mindset value the contribution of the group over the individual. The opposite is true of individualistic cultures. In these cultures, a team-based recognition and reward structure might actually be demotivating and create conflict and distrust. It is critical to understand the collective versus individualist mindsets during the change process, particularly when we think about alignment and messaging.
The US is a controlled time culture, global and intercultural. Expansion has meant adherence to schedule is important and expected. Missing a deadline is a sign of poor management and efficiency and will shake people's confidence. Successful intercultural management will depend on the individual's ability to meet a deadline.
American managers are viewed as facilitators, people who help employees do their best work and not simply decision makers. They empower employees and expect them to take responsibility. Employees freely cross management levels and speak directly to senior managers. This freedom is particularly apparent at meetings where everyone in attendance is encouraged to participate openly.
Cross-cultural management is more likely to succeed if you understand the mindset behind the workforce. In the United States, groups collaborate well together as teams. Members are generally chosen to participate based on tangible skills or the knowledge base they bring, and are equally welcome to contribute to any discussion that may arise. They are encouraged to generate new ideas that may further the direction of the plan or spawn a new track internally. In successful dynamic teams, all members are valued for their actual and potential contribution, and that all are treated with equal respect.
The American negotiating style tends to be a hard sell, sometimes characterized as sledgehammer subtly combined with a missionary zeal. A strong pitch may sound boastful, but is meant to inspire confidence and trust. It is also consistent with the penchant for logical reasoning, directness, and comfort with self promotion. American negotiators may have little familiarity with or patience for the formal business protocol, indirect communication style, or consensual decision making practices of other countries. Their focus is on the short term and the big picture, securing the best deal in a timely manner.
One of the biggest drivers of these differences is a variation in people management. American firms are ruthless and rapidly rewarding and promoting good employees and are training on firing bad people. The reasons are threefold. The US has a tougher level of competition, large and open. US market generates the type of rapid management evolution that allows only the best managers to survive. Human capital is important. America traditionally gets far more its population into college than other nations. The US has more flexible labor markets. It's much easier to hire and fire employees. Many developing country firms, even while trying to implement new technologies like learn management, ignores the fact that the labor is different from the other inputs. Many of the Chinese firms surveyed did not even employ managers who spoke the same language as the workers, relying on interpreters or basic sign languages for communication. As you can imagine, this does not lead to a feeling of mutual support between managers and workers.
We can say that well managed firms trash their poorly managed competitors. First, not surprisingly, we find that organizations with better management massively outperform their disorganized competitors. They make more money, they grow faster, and have far higher stock markets. Second, when it comes to overall management, American firms outperform all others. This US dominance occurs in the manufacturing, retail, and healthcare sectors. While the ranking of countries is certainly eye-catching, the real story lies within the countries. Almost 90% of the cross-country differences are driven by the size of the tail of really badly managed firms within each country. Countries like the US that excel have hardly any badly managed firms, while those like India that have low average scores have a mass of very badly managed firms pulling down their averages. But while there are many of these extremely badly managed, every country also hosts some excellent firms. Even bottom ranking India has dozens of firms that use world class management practices. A key takeaway is that individual companies are not trapped by the national environments in which they operate. There are top performers in all countries survive. Conversely, being in a world class environment like the US does not guarantee success. Even in America, more than 10% of the firms are so badly managed that they are worse than the average Chinese or Indian firm.
To sum up with all this information previously discoursed about, we can gather the American management in four important points. First, structured management practices are tightly linked to better performance. Establishments adopting more structured practices for performance monitoring, target setting, and incentive enjoy greater productivity and profitability, higher rates of innovation, and faster employment growth. Second, there is a substantial dispersion of these practices across US manufacturing establishments. We find that 80% of establishments have adopted at least 75% of structured management practices, while 27% of establishments adopted less than 50% of these. Third, larger establishments in larger firms with more educated employees, as well as exporting establishments, tend to have more structured management practices. Establishments in the South and Midwest have more structured management on average than those in the North and West. Finally, we find US management appeared to have become more structured over the last half decade for incumbents, particularly for practices involving data collection and analysis.
It's a beautiful morning in New York City. Clear up the closing doors, please.